good day. Bless up to everybody and a happy Friday to everyone. We're there again, in the morning inside our show on Nicardo Media House. Good morning to the people, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whenever you guys really watching this back, really appreciate it as usual. Roll in, make we talk about reggae boy football, and also this is a hot topic. This position need urgent talking about. This need urgent attention from the administration staff and actually from the coaching, the technical director. Also, do we have a technical director? What happened to Downswell? I think he resigned from his post. But look, anybody who is a part of the national pool, the coaching staff, administration staff, the striker position need urgent attention. Look, we have so many bodies. We have players that playing in very decent league, but guess what? There's no productivity in the final third. Our number nines, the quality and how these players supposed to be playing at their club level and at the national, it's decreasing. I don't know what is going on. The man come like upon a rapid decline. Shamar Nicholson, what happening with Shamar Nicholson? Michail Antonio, is he still the savior? A 35-year-old that went through a car crash, in the winter, I think what it was in December. Are we going to depend back on a 35-year-old to lead us to glory, in the World Cup qualifier, in the Gold Cup? You must be mad. You must be crazy. Yeah? I don't know, man, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to discuss it. And I'd love to hear your guys' feedback in the comment section. As usual, you don't know the people, I'm always checking in the comment area, respectfully, drop your comment there and tell me what you think. But is Michail Antonio the man? Will it be Shamar Nicholson? Is it Warner Brown? Look, the number 9 position is open in the air at this moment. I just cannot believe it that, look, we are at a stage right now where we are less than a year away from the last phase of the World Cup qualifier, where it will be the decisive moment where we want a number 9 to get us at least. Look, we're going to have 2 games in September, 2 games in October, 2 games in November. We're going to need at least 3 goals from a striker, and our wingers, midfielders can chip in. Kudos to our defenders if them can chip in and get some goals. But look, as I said, if you're gonna depend on a 35-year-old man, just like what Steve McLaren have said, it's like him a wait for Michail Antonio for come back into the team. You understand? But back in the past, Steve McLaren have said a few stuff like this about Michail Antonio.
And as we know, Antonio is recovering remarkably well. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. Really positive, really in good form. In his rehab, he's on the treadmill, he's running, and he tells me he's going to be ready for the summer. Knowing Michail, that could happen. So we keep our fingers crossed for that. And also strikers that we can pick. Shamar Nicholson comes in. Antonio was obviously our number 1. Romario Williams was also effective in the 2 games, 2 camps that we had before the new year. I liked him, but unfortunately we can't get him. So the number 9 is a position in which we need to find that hidden gem. So Shamar, Warner Brown have got an opportunity.
So I don't know where to go with it, but listen to this. Mark Noble gave a little bit of update on Michail Antonio. But look, we respect Michail Antonio. We know in the era of the Premier League since 1993, in our 1992, 93, wherever they just in the start of the 90s, when Liverpool won the Premier League 1990, and then the new format of the Premier League, Michail Antonio is the leading goal scorer since the early 90s until now for West Ham. He has scored 60+ goals. I know he's a very decent striker at the Premier League level, yet to really prove it on a consistent basis, for the reggaeboyz. But this is the update that Mark Noble gave on Michail Antonio.
What is the latest with Antonio?
To be honest, he's if you look at him, he's a freak of nature. I mean, Harry got out of that car in the first place, but I see him yesterday at the training ground, and he's walking about freely, and he's in the gym and doing stuff. So I think look, I think Antonio's realised that he's a very lucky boy to walk away, you know, and he accepts that. And but it's just great to see him around because he's such a good character. So
the plan is to get him back, right?
I think for himself, just to get back, and if he can play at some sort, then fantastic. But I think he's still got a lot of rehab to do. He's with the injury he got. So, but as I say, just to see him here, you know, and being with the boys is great.
You know, so if you put twos and twos together, you know, Steve McLaren said, Michail Antonio told him that, look, hopefully he will be ready in the summer coming. Meanwhile, Mark Noble said, hey, I think he will need a little bit more rehab going forward, try to get back into shape. And I just think that, look, we cannot wait on Michail Antonio. You know, I'm sorry, but he's not that guy anymore. He passed his best, and we don't know what will be the physicality of Michail Antonio, what will be the fitness level of him. I know he's training with the U team, you know, West Ham and all of that, yet to come, you know, to join up with the first team. But what will happen in the first sets of game in the World Cup qualifier, then we go on to the Gold Cup. Shaman Nicholson, in his first 7 games, you know, he was on a decent little run of patch off, a little bit of farm in a 41 in the Liga MX. Yeah, where he what I think he had like 3 assists and a goal in the first 7 games. But after that, a man came in and took his game, you know, Zoniga, where when you look at it, the last 7 games, that player scored 8 goals for Club Tijuana. He's the leading goal scorer for the club at this moment, you know. He's scoring goals left, right, and center. So when you look at it, Shaman Nicholson, you know, a little bit frozen out of the team, you know, in the starting level for Club Tijuana, you know, change a coach, you know, change a direction, change a style of play. So that don't suit him anymore. Look, remember the days when Big Boza, you know, came in. I think Boza started play around 2017, 2018 for the national team. You know, 2019 was a really good year for Boza, where he scored 7 goals in the calendar year. You know, scored a couple. I think he scored a brilliant goal on the US. Scored a couple goals in the Nations League as well. And if you look at it, you know, 2021 and 22 was a dip in form where Big Boza only scored 3 goals in 15 games. That's the time when he was a little bit, I think he was frozen out of Spartak mascot, you know, team, not getting enough minutes. But then he got that loan move, you know, to the French league, you know, I think a Clermont Foot, where he just came back, you know, in 2023, where he scored 5 goals in the Nations League. He scored 6 goals of that calendar year, and he was the leading goal scorer in the Nations League, you know. So it's like when things are going good for him, just like when he was at Sporting Chaleur in the Belgian Pro League, he scored 7 goals in 2019 for us. So it's like if Boza is not on farm at his club, it's like he cannot get that farm for the national team. And, you know, we have plenty of strikers that right around the globe, but what is the productivity? What is the end product? Can they do it at that level, you know, where they can help to bring the reggaeboyz to the next level? Look, we have Trevante Stewart, a player that, you know, got an opportunity, you know, under the last, I think, under coach Alf Grimson, you know, in that quarterfinal against Canada, you know, didn't really do much, but again, was going through a little bit of trauma, you know, at the club level. You know, at the time was at Salernitana in the Italian Serie A. Now, Trevante Stewart is in the Serbian Pro League, double digits in goal, 12 goals for a struggling relegation team. You know, a team that is fighting for their life. So, you know, if you see he's getting goals, so what are we going to do if we're not going to pick, you know, Trevante? But this is why the number 9 position is up in the air. And I would love to hear, you know, from you guys going forward, who are those players? And I don't want you guys come and tell me about, you know, Tyrese Campbell, Macy Green. I don't want to hear about those players. Those players are yet to make their debut. I'm talking about players that are available with a passport. Yeah, I want to hear what will be the selection choices going forward. Who will it be? You know, you have Javanis, you know, the coach you talk about, you know, in Israel. You know, once, look, when Javanis was on top of his game, the peak of his power, yeah, a man that scored, 30 plus goals in the last 2 seasons, of him playing in Central America, for Saprissa in Costa Rica. Yeah, man who scored the most goal as a number 9 in in across the whole of Central America. Talking about Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama, Costa Rica. He has scored the most goal. And speak of his power, you will say 2024, 2025, 2022, 2023 season. Scored 30 plus goals in those two combined seasons. So I'm not saying Javan is that man, but where is that now, for Hapoel, in Israel? Not doing so much. He's not doing so much. I mean, look, that's why a lot of people saying Warner Brown is that guy at this moment, and people said, you must be mad. You're crazy. What we are going to do with Warner Brown? No, you have to believe in somebody. It's just like back then, probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we believe, in a shaman, so we gave him the opportunity. He's not hungry anymore. Michail Antonio is not that guy physically at this moment. We don't know what we're going to get. We don't know what we're going to get. So, we have tried so many players over the last couple of years. Corey Burke was there. What's his name? He's playing in the USL. He scored a goal in the Nations League, last year as well. I don't remember his name. I forgot his name. Romaro Williams. We have a couple players, but look, they are not quality. But if you look at it now, we are at the point for World Cup qualifier where our squad, if you talk about the defenders, the midfielders, the even worse, I talked about that yesterday. The midfielding is one of the biggest issues for the Reggae Boy team. No, the striker pool is rapidly declining. No goals, that's coming from the players that's coming in, to play that number 9 position. So if you look at it, our squad is all over the place. We are not a settled group as yet, and that is spelling trouble for me. Because if you look at Mexico, they have Santi Jimenez, a player that, yet to really prove himself at that level, but he's playing at an elite level, day in and day out, at AC Milan. He's chipping in with a few goals now and then. Raul Jimenez came in with a bang. Yeah, it's like Aguirre, just flick a switch in that Mexico team. They have strikers that they can depend on. Then especially Raul scored some fantastic goal in the last couple of games for Mexico as well. America, they have their striker problem, but they have players that can get the ball in the back of the net. They have players that put in the ball off the back of the net, for their club team. They have Captain America, someone that they can depend on, not a number 9, but they have strikers. You understand? And if you look at Canada, Jonathan David, 16 goals in the French league. Costa Rica, they have Ugalde, someone that have already gone, double digit, someone that will kick Boza out of Spartak Moscow team. They have another player, Alonso Martinez, Costa Rica, a MLS player that plays for NYFC at this moment, one of the best striker in MLS. Panama, you will say maybe, Farhado is not that player that they're looking for as a number 9, but what you can take from Panama is a togetherness, a understanding and how they want to play the football. Honduras, they, first, before, Kyoto came in, they used to have Luis Palma played up there like a false 9. They have Alvarez, they have Benguche. Now they got back one of the elite players, Kyoto, Romel Kyoto. So they have players that, they can depend on, who the Reggae Boys have that we can depend on. Look, Warner Brown is a JPL player, 21 goals of the champions so far, a player that easily could have gone on to score 30 plus goals. And, people are going to say, if he's that good, why he's still in the JPL? Just look, he will be out of that league back again. Remember, he once was out there in Europe, come back, nothing happened to wrong with, start over and try again. But look, the number 9 pool is the position is up in the air for grab. And look, we have to go for hungry players. We have to go for players that hungry, want to play, want to provide for the national team. And I'm going to say this, you have Florian Ritz, play for Germany at a very young age. Michail, a young striker, came through the door, for England as well. I think it was the 90 World Cup or 2000 World Cup, 2002? I don't remember, but one of them, he came like that. You understand? Yamal, a young player like that, Pele, a young player like that. But you can't just look at the that a young player will not be the final product because you have a lot more years ahead of him to to continue that development. And I'm just saying, I said all of that to say this, that we have a young man that just make his MLS debut in a Seymour Reid, a young under 17 player. Just recently just finished, play that World Cup qualifier for the youth 17. Nothing wrong if we give him a try. I know when you talk about giving young players an opportunity for this reggae boy team are in the space of Jamaica, it's like, yeah, curse bad than the people. Yes, I understand, but we don't really believe in young talent. Rennie Simoe came and saw Bibi, gave him that opportunity. So nothing wrong with giving young players opportunity. But look, if you look at the body built of Seymour Reid, he's one up there, and he held his own really well. In that game that he came on, well, I think it was in Ohio against Cincinnati. So we have young players that we can test the water with, and the players are not just they're players that they are just not performing at this moment. So the number 9 position is up for grab at this moment. It's not Boza. Look, I still believe that maybe he can do a job, but I think we're going to have to find and try to create that number 9. Like look, if you're going to add a young player like Seymour Reid in that mix of the number 9 pool, he will need time to gradually develop into that position. But again, is it worth it? I think so, because he will be hungry, just like Warner Brown. He will be fighting for that badge. He will be fighting for that crest. So let me know, what you guys really think, in the comment section about who is that number 9 going forward. Who will it be? It cannot be Michail Antonio. It just cannot be him at this moment. Maybe if he didn't went through that, car crash, maybe I would say at this moment, Michail Antonio is that man for us at this moment. But it's not, Boza Liga MX the break came at the wrong time for Boza. The next game for Boza at the club level is the end of July, when they will play in that League Cup, versus LA Galaxy. Will he be the starting man going forward? I don't think he will be the starting man, for this team. You're gonna have to fight him way, and when he get that opportunity, he must score some goal off for the bench so the coach can reintegrate it back into that team. But it's just going to be really tough, to find that number 9. But everybody else have number 9 that they can depend on, a player that who have that killer instinct. Can we get that back killer instinct from Shaman Nichols? And I think with the games that's coming up, the World Cup qualifier, he will be a part of the squad. Don't be surprised he will be that man, starting at number 9 position. Because look, we don't have nobody, as less we're going to get people that who have never played for the national team. We're going to recruit, a heritage player, whoever it will be. Let's see who is that player in that secret Santa box that will come up and be the savior for this national team. But this national team want a number 9 to save the campaign. As I can say this, look what happened in the Copa America. That is signs that you need goals. You need goals. And this team, we don't get a lot of goals from the midfield. We might get 1 and 2 from the defenders, but we don't get a lot of runners that willing to put that effort to get the ball in the back of the net. But I just think, again, Boza is not the answer at this moment. Michail Antonio is not that answer at this moment. But whichever player get the opportunity to get the nod, Warner Brown, Trivante, whoever it is, whoever it will be, Trivante double-digit goal in Serbian Pro League. I think the Serbian Super League. We saw even last season Jonah Flemings, who is not a striker, but scored 12 goals in the Serbian Super League. So I'm not saying, I'm just throwing names out there, and I'm not saying these players should just walk back into the national team. I'm just throwing out names out there that look, players who have scored goals there and there. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Thanks for watching, man. The Morning Insiders here. Look, tomorrow will be a very, very big topic. It's all about the Jamaican Premier League going into the last rounds of game before the playoff. Who will be that team that finished in second? Who will be that last team to get that 6th position? And who will finish in 14 to go down with relegated that team that already got relegated, via Phoenix United. So tomorrow, don't miss that show. It will be epic. You know, I'm talking about local football. You don't know the Nicardo Media House, the Morning Insiders here. So look out for the Morning Insider Extra tomorrow, Saturday. Rest up on yourself. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I'm out. Ciao, ciao, people. Aruva. Adios, amigos.